I love
All
your
right.
setup there. That looks awesome.
Cool.
Oh yeah. It's all cardboard. It's cardboard with LED lights on it. There's
Really?
nothing. It's a backdrop.
The
It's
fake
like at
recording
Walmart.
studio.
You pull down the thing, you think you're in Hawaii. It's
Cardboard guns. Oh, nice. I literally thought that was.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought it was like evening at the Improv.
Meet the Pressers with Matt Mallory and Clint Macro. Brought to you by Public Safety and Education and the Trigger Pressers Union. And now, your hosts.
This episode is made possible with the generous support of Shooter Technology Group, ASP, Saber Red, Lee Armory, and the SFD Responder 2.0. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Meet the Pressers. I'm Matt Mallory.
And I'm Clint Macro. And our special guest is Mike. Mike, how you doing, brother? You're from Arms Room Radio.
I'm doing great, guys. It's a pleasure to be on here. And I listen. I am a radio guy, so I got to tell you, I've got the face for radio and the voice for newspapers. So I'm seeing myself here on the video. That's a little different than normal.
So, Mike, how do we say your last name? Because we don't want to mess it up.
Well, listen, you guys are up there in Pennsylvania, so you guys say it the right way. You know, it's a northeastern name. It's a cultural name. It's said Piwowarski, or if the American translation is Piwowarski. And then that's I grew up there in New York City, so I get it. You know, down here everybody just goes Mike, and I go, yeah, that's me.
So Piwowarski. So that's like, is that Chinese?
It is. But it's Southern Chinese.
Southern Chinese.
It's actually Polish. A quick history lesson. It's piwo is pivo, which is beer. Var is to make or produce something, and ski is is family of, or like Anderson or Mitchelson, something like that. Mm-hmm. So my name is basically son of the beer maker. I am the beer maker's family, or the brewers.
And do you like beer?
I've been known to partake in some, and perhaps what time is it? Yeah, perhaps within the past hour or so.
Yeah, I think in the fourth Matrix movie that they're making, Neo has to visit the beer maker. I think that's a thing.
That's it. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, you have to choose between the red label beer and the blue label beer.
Mike, tell us a little bit about the genesis of Arms Room Radio. Like, how did that start out, and what are the steps that you've taken to get to where you are today?
Funny story. I guess that's how they all start, right? We were. I'd left full-time police work, retired from police work, and had a gun store on the side. We were building some ARs. That developed into a full-blown gun store. This is about 6 years ago now.
Wow.
A friend of mine was a DJ for a local radio station. I used to go hang out with him working in one of the bad parts of town. He had a secure fence, and it was a place we could go have a cup of coffee and go to the bathroom and have to worry about getting jumped, when your gun belt's off. So he stopped back in the shop. We start talking. He's like, and at this point he's an advertiser. He's trying to make a sale. Man, you guys should advertise on my station. You should have a radio show. And it was every Wednesday we'd get together, everybody at the gun store, and we'd sit around and just catch up. Just guys that hadn't seen each other in a while. May or may not have been some sampling of intoxicating liquors involved. And he would say, "Listen, this should be a gun show. You guys are sitting here. You should be doing a radio show." Like 6 months of that, we said, we're not doing that. We're not radio people. We never had any desire or experience in it other than operating police radios or military radios. And finally, just to make him shut up, we said, fine, we'll do it. He gave us like a month free. We did 2 shows, and it was me, one of our top gun lawyers in the state, and the general manager at the store. And we did it, and the first 2 weeks just sounded like horrible infomercial. And we said, listen, if we're going to do this, let's do real topics. Let's be real. Let's talk Second Amendment. Let's talk conservation. Let's talk training. Let's talk firearms. And we started doing that. And inside of 6 months, we were on 6 different stations. They pumped us up to 2 hours. And now here we are, over 5 years later, still doing it up at 25, 30 stations, 70 to 100,000 people listening a week. And, just like you guys moving all around the country, going to all these events, people asking you to talk and want to know your opinions. And it's been surprising and satisfying at the same time.
That's amazing.
Well, your show is has certainly inspired me, and I think inspired my want to do what we're doing with this show. Is you're not afraid to talk about politics, and a lot of gun shows where they're talking about gear, equipment, or training, they steer away from that politics. We even talk about religion on this show because I think all that is important. The Bill of Rights is all encompassing and all kind of fit together, and we should be prepared to speak out against folks that want to limit any of those rights, or we should be able to be good ambassadors for each one of them.
Yeah, exactly right. I say we're a conservative talk show. That's how we lean. But, I support the entire Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all the amendments. And we just so happen to be subject matter experts on the second, but that leads to the first, that leads to the fourth, that leads to our knowledge of everything else, And so we're not afraid to talk about it. And the big thing that I've learned, and I learned it from a couple of being a fan of radio growing up, but again, never having a desire to sit on the other side of the microphone, was number one thing is, even if you are putting out a very important message, no matter what it is, if you're not entertaining, nobody's listening. So, Hey, Clint, you've sat with me before. We've done the show. We have fun. If you don't have fun doing it, nobody listens. People have described this as what they call it, voyeur radio. It's like sitting next to your buddies at a bar or another table at a bar, listening to their conversation. You're drawn into it. And then we have fun. We'll have that political talk, but we'll make fun at the same time we're doing it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Clint and I had the same mindset with teaching classes. It's not the dry eyes, death by PowerPoint, chalkboard kind of mentality. You got to add a little humor, a little fun to the class, or and that's what gets people thinking and awake, right? So they're not falling asleep in your class. Either that, or I just walk behind them and pop off a taser a little bit to scare them.
Yeah.
That wakes them up too.
If you're not entertaining in class, you've lost them. Yep. Because they might stick around for another joke, but in the meantime, you're pumping the fundamentals of safety and firearms training into them.
Yeah, well, and the vast majority of people have a sense of humor too.
Yeah.
And so if you can, whatever it is, if it's political activism, if it's gun safety, doesn't matter. If you're talking about that, but adding a little bit of humor in there and humanizing it, being less than the lofty subject matter expert. We're human beings. Now, we know a lot about what we're talking about, but we're just regular people like you. And I think that helps to empower people who want to learn how to use the gun safely, empower themselves, or become an ambassador for the Second Amendment. Like, we all can do this, man, and we can have fun while we do it. That's important.
Yeah, exactly right. We're the same people you are. We're not these evil, crazy, black rifle-toting people running through Walmart. We are here to make everybody safer and more knowledgeable.
This is Maria, Tennessee Outside Sales Manager for the United States Concealed Carry Association. You're watching Meet the Pressers with Matt Mallory and Clint Macro.
Meet the Pressers.
I believe you have some sabers and some spurs and a Stetson.
I do. I've got between active duty and reserve time, I'm at 26 years now in the Army or the Army Reserve or the National Guard, the reserve components. About 10 years into it, I got talked to go to the dark side, and I went to officer candidate school. And I'd been infantry prior to that, so everything that went with me went on my back. When it was about halfway through officer candidate school, they said, "Listen, you got to pick what branch you want to go to." And I was going straight back to the infantry because we were infantry. We were hard. Oh, let's go. And then I saw these guys drive by in these vehicles with these big guns on them, and I thought, wow, together my knees are 60 years old, so I should probably think about riding a little less. And they said, yeah, why carry your weapon when your weapon can carry you? Mm-hmm. I was sold from that day, and I love the cavalry. I love the armor components in the Army, and I have done deployed as a cavalry leader. I have gone through all the cavalry training. I'm a spur holder of silver spurs and gold spurs, which means I earn my combat spurs and I test it out for my expert spurs. I have my Stetson. I have my sabers. I've even got a cape. I've got it all. I am fully a cavalryman.
That's awesome.
That is very cool.
Yeah, my very best friend went into the Cav, and he was a scout, and so I got to see a little bit of what he went through and what he achieved while doing that, and got to see a little behind the scenes there. Yeah, the Cav's a pretty cool thing.
It is pretty cool, and it's actually it's the basis of the Arms Room radio logo. When it was time to come up with a logo, we were like, well, we got a microphone. What now? Well, put it on a guidon. Perfect. Sold.
Cool.
It was that simple to come up with the logo.
And now you got out as an 03?
I'm still in. Yeah,
you are.
I'm still in the reserve components. It's been about 3 months since reserve duty, but yeah, I am. I'm 03 looking at 04 right now. I've turned it down a couple of times because 04s do paperwork, 03s lead. So, but it's about that time.
So I have to ask, and I try to ask this to every Cav person that I meet. What are your thoughts on Robert Duvall's performance on Apocalypse Now?
Well, you have to understand the cavalry concept in Vietnam was air mobile capabilities. There was very little ground cav at the time. In fact, that was the reintroduction of cav. We lost cav. The last true fighting cavalryman was George Patton in World War II. He fought armor battalions as cavalry battalions and divisions. Robert Duvall brought back the tactics wise. It was great air mobile tactics, but he brought back that spirit and attitude to cav. I don't think I'm better than everybody else. I don't even have to let you know. I just know I am.
Oh, that's great. So some of the other patches you have on the other side, you want to?
Let's see if I can see them here. I've got well, of course, on top is our standard motto. Come and take it. Then I'm a regular guy. I've been a bunch of the Hua schools, as we call them, the great things in the Army, but I am regular guy. I walk into battle and maybe I ride into battle and I ride out. That's it. I don't have any other special things beyond that I do in my other job. And then of course, smooth operator. I mean, you just saw that and you're like, because I'm not operator, I'm regular guy. And then when I saw smooth operator, I was like, oh, that's going in the canopy there.
That's nice. That's nice. Isn't that a song? Smooth operator.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
So different courses. I'm assuming you've taken courses. You alluded to that. What kind of courses have you taken, and which ones stand out to be like the best cream of the crop? Maybe even mentors in the industry that you aspire to train with.
What you're talking military courses or Second Amendment kind of courses?
Self-defense firearms courses.
Okay. I'm a big fan of our friend Rob Pincus with the Personal Defense Network. And I've taken numerous courses with Rob. I've been with his people for years and years. They come down here to Florida and they hit St. Augustine every time they come down at the Ancient City Gun Range there.
Nice.
And
yeah, actually, Matt just did a class with Derek Poole.
Well, Derek was there with us in St. Augustine last time he was down. In fact, we drove up from Orlando. It's about an hour and a half ride, and we brought tents. So we camped out on the range for the 3 days we were there, and
nice.
just made an event of it. Barbecued at night with the pop up Coleman, and just had a great time. Then of course we bothered Rob at his hotel because he had running water. So other courses are I'm big, and I see you've got it on the table behind you, Clint. Our friends out at Next Level Training. I love the versatility of that CERT training pistol. I could keep that CERT, on my. Well, it's out of reach while I'm wired up, but I have my CERT laser pistol, and I'll put a couple hundred, trigger pulls through it during the week, and it just keeps you sharp. It keeps your fundamentals up. The courses they've got now, where you can go through a full course with them, 80% of it on laser, 20% pulling real gunpowder, and at the end of it, you feel like you've got more training done than just sitting in a classroom and standing in a range. It's a great way to incorporate so much more training into it and take away that that having to stand on the range and it's ready on the left, ready on the right. You're lasered up. You're ready to go.
Definitely. Yeah, they just finished a curriculum with the USCCA actually, so that'll be coming out. It's gonna be an online end user and instructor certification curriculum.
Yeah, we're looking at. I think they're coming down here to Florida to do some train-the-trainer instructor courses down here with the new curriculum in the next 2 months or so. We're linked up with them on that. We're really looking forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah,
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, Mike and Britt have been very, very supportive of my professional efforts. As a matter of fact, they're who I first met you through, right?
Right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah, we went out and had ate some big pieces of meat and drank a little bit of alcohol after an evening of
yeah, but that was just
chasing.
That was to soak up the meat, though. So
Yeah, soak up the meat. Yeah, yeah. Those evenings after the floor closes at any of the shows, when you follow Mike and Britt around, can be kind of exhausting in their own right.
I like to give them a run for their money, even if I have to sleep for a week ahead of time. I don't want them to think they won. You gotta try and outpace them.
Very true.
What legislative things are going on right now, if you'd like to comment on that people in Florida need to be paying attention to?
We've got another one of the groups, the Crazy Moms Demand Attention, or whatever the heck the name of it is this week down here. They're proposing an assault weapon ban, and we're a ballot initiative state. Our ballot initiative, one of the nice things about our ballot initiative, has got to be a 60% vote approval for it to pass. It's not just a majority vote, but there's one up for assault weapons right now that's come around. The wording in this assault weapons ballot amendment is any long gun capable of being loaded with 10 or more rounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's their definition. So that's everything that has a detachable magazine,
Right.
anything tube feds. It's a Ruger 1022. We always go back to that one. This is pretty much any long gun that can hold more. Not that it does hold more, but that it can hold more.
Well, it's interesting. If you read those definitions for all these bands, even the one in the city of Pittsburgh, they're all worded exactly the same.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's originally had said any semi-automatic firearm that could accept more than 10 or more rounds.
Right.
So we have to recognize that there is a puppet master behind all of these little gun groups that are pushing this anti-liberty agenda.
Yep.
And we need to realize these local fights that we have here in Pittsburgh and Florida, they're all connected.
Yeah,
and we should all care about them, even if it's not happening in our own particular backyard.
Yeah.
So,
and if our puppet master is a short little puppet master, I think we all know who we're talking about.
Yeah. From Matt's state. Well, from yours originally too, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, I'm in New York, and I went and met with a bunch of politicians in Albany talking about some of the laws that they're looking to enforce. And one thing that came out of one of the meetings that really made me think, and you could see the little puppet master side of the house, was the Gabby Gifford Foundation, Gabby Gifford, the politician that was shot.
Right.
The politician I met with made the reference that any laws that they come up with or they're going to propose has to be run through their foundation to get final approval or to get approval. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not even has nothing to do with you guys, but they've really, that foundation, that group has really taken a part of the process. They've interjected themselves in between the decision-making process, and there's lots of them out there. You got Bloomberg and such.
Yeah,
but they're very crafty. They're smart. They know how to play the game. So don't underestimate our enemy, and anyone that is for the abolishment or restriction of the rights and liberties of law-abiding citizens is an enemy in my book. Mm-hmm. So we need to be smart when we combat these people.
It is all the standard spiel. Listen, we support the Second Amendment, but we want these assault style weapons gone. We want to register them. We want to take them away from you. We don't want to take them away from you, but we want to register them.
Yeah.
So next year we can take them away from you.
Registration leads to confiscation.
We'll know where they are. Luckily down here, and we're crossing fingers here. We've got our new Attorney General, Ashley Moody. She's already filed with the state with the state Supreme Court down here that it's overly vague, it's misleading, and that it clearly is in violation of state constitution, Second Amendment, and federal constitution, Second Amendment. You can't pass a ballot initiative that says I want to violate federal and state law now against a constitutional right. This is not like one of the we want recreational marijuana, and marijuana is illegal, and if it's illegal in your state, we pass a ballot and then we just wipe that law off the books. You can't wipe the Constitution off the books.
Right.
There's a difference between statute and Constitution, and that's the argument she's making with our state Supreme Court right now.
Well, Clint's dealing with that up here in Pennsylvania too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have our fight in the city of Pittsburgh, and essentially there was an elected official, and much like I don't like to repeat the names of mass murderers, I won't repeat the name of the mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, but he has passed ordinances that violate the law, and he's very open about it, and he's quite candid about it. Yes, we know we're violating the law, but we're doing it anyhow.
Right.
And so
your
therefore,
governor's response too. Your governor's response was that's a local issue.
Yeah. Well, he's empowering them because he's part of the agenda, man. He wants to control the armed citizenry, because the armed citizenry, the educated armed citizenry, is the true fourth check and balance of a constitutional republic.
That's exactly right.
And if you want tyranny, well, you got to get rid of that. So
that's right.
That's
they can't fight you if they got no way to fight.
No, your commissioner, ag commissioner down there, Nikki Fried.
Yes.
Yeah, I seen something where she had mentioned that she has a medical marijuana card as well as she has a pistol license, and there's a bunch of uproar about that. Any buzz on that? Like any indictments? She's going to get arrested for that?
We'll see. That's going to be up to our friends at DEA and ATF. We've already seen ATF tell us that if you have one of those, you can't legally fill out a 4473.
Yep.
That says whether or not you use a controlled substance. So we'll see. If she just has the card, and we've had this debate before. If I go in and say, Doc, it hurts when I do this, and he gives me a he gives me a medical marijuana card. It doesn't mean I've filled it. You know, how many times have you gotten a prescription and decided on the way home, I don't need that crap. I got.
Hey, well, you know, our former president, he didn't inhale. So, I mean, that's the thing, right?
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale.
It depends on what your definition of inhale is. No.
Yes, right.
The cigar or the...
Yeah.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes.
Is.
So, yeah. So you know, we've had that debate before. If I have the card, but I've never gotten the drug itself,
Right.
You know, am I still in violation? And maybe she's, you know, being her background, maybe she's just she's trolling us. I've got
Right.
both cards. What are you going to do? Well, unless you're holding unless you're showing me that you've used in one hand or you possess in one hand, then I guess it's really not a violation. But that's you know, that'll be up to our good friends at DEA and ATF, because our state law enforcement department is kind of like the FBI still, where they're still weeding out some of the last people in there, you know, from the last administration before they can get them on the far
Straight
right.
narrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it could be the flip side of it too. If she has the medical marijuana card and smoked and has a pistol license but hasn't bought a pistol or
Correct. Yeah.
then kind of the same concept there, where she's not both sides of, even though she has the card, both sides of the final outcome has to come to be before she's actually fully and not in compliance with the law.
Well,
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't even thought about it that way. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
The crime, and this, we had an interview with Josh Prince. The crime is actually the perjuring yourself on the document.
Correct.
Right? Is that correct?
That is right. That's
So
true.
if they don't even submit it or run the background check, then you still haven't technically committed it. But one of the things that Josh was talking about is when people are exempt or they're you know, found wrong, people don't always know it, and then they'll fill this out, and then they create a bigger crime by filling out the paperwork.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. And you know, but what's the prosecution rate on that? We saw 100,000 denials over the last couple of years of people that filled out 4473s, and less than 100, you know, prosecution attempts on them. You know, it's their vaunted background checks that we have to make sure they work. But if there's no penalty for going in there and lying on that background check form, what are we doing it for?
Yeah, it's like, what difference does it make?
Yeah,
I mean, it's that same statement.
Yep. Yeah.
We hear politicians say that all the time, right?
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I met with a local senator in New York after the SAFE Act was passed in 2013, went to his chambers, and I said, where did the 7 rounds come from? Oh, well, there's, you know, different, you know, they banned, it was 7 rounds. You can't have more than 7 rounds in your 10-round magazine. Actually, when it first came out, they said that you had to permanently modify the magazine.
Right.
And then obviously there's an uproar in the industry, and then the states, okay, the governor's, okay, just don't put 10 in it.
Right.
Of course, my response was, so my wife can't put 10 in it, but a bad guy can, because you know a bad guy is going to only put 7 in it when they're going to rob a bank or break into a house.
That's right.
It makes no sense. They're not going to obey the law. Just like
what was his justification on the arbitrariness of the 7 rounds?
So, and that's the reason why the court shut it down, because it was an arbitrary number. But the reasoning behind it was that there was a bunch of cases out there where people used more than 7 rounds. So they figured if they made it, you could only put 7 rounds in it, that would stop a bad guy from carrying out a crime with more than 7 rounds.
Oh, that's like 4 out of 5 doctors smoke Camel cigarettes, so Camels must be good for you. I mean, that's that's great.
A very good analogy. Yeah, yeah. No, it's insane. It's insane. He actually got defensive, like when I made that statement. You know, he came back. He goes, it was weird. It was like he was on drugs or something. He flipped his lid. He was like, well, I had this one constituent call me up and started cursing me out on the phone and said he'd come down and kick me. And then this guy's like 6'5", 350. I mean, he's a big guy, this politician. And he's just like, and he told me to come down and kick my ass. And he goes, and I told him to come down. I'll wait right out in the alley for him. And I don't know if he was telling me this story like randomly, just out of the blue, just to kind of like make it so that I was, you know, intimidated by him. I was like, dude, why did this come up?
No, but see, that's a tactic.
Yeah, it was.
He took control of that conversation, switched it around, made him a victim, and therefore it puts you on defense.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I just want to say for the record, whenever the day comes that we franchise the Trigger Pressers Union and start opening other locals, Mike is going to be the first person I call for local number 2 down there in Florida.
I've been lobbying for it. Every time I see you, we've lobbied for it. We want to be local number 2 down here in the South.
Well, if that happens, it will happen with you, and number 2 will be down there with you.
Very good.
There's the problem is I got to figure out how to do it. I kind of think maybe I could set up like well-armed women. I think that would be the way to do it, and then franchise the other chapters, or I got to figure that out. So if anyone watching,
get Carrie involved.
Yeah, anyone watching has an idea on that, feel free to reach out to me, because I'd like to see that happen. And Mike would be someone I'd be okay with, kind of putting my name on, and I'd know he would be honorable and do the right thing and grow the movement as opposed to hurt it.
And that's the standard I'm looking for. Okay with Mike. Okay with Mike.
Oh. See, you cheapened it, man. That was really meant to be very positive, and
I appreciate it. I know exactly where it was coming from, but if I didn't call you out on that,
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Different organizations out there that you have talked to, had on the show, as far as Second Amendment, pro liberty. Any out there that you put your support behind, money behind?
The Second Amendment Foundation, they're small in numbers, but huge in impact. Something like 80% of all the positive gun legislation or gun victories in the courts that we see are a direct result of what Second Amendment Foundation is doing. Most of your state organizations, I deal a lot with Florida Carry down here, Georgia Carry, Arizona Citizens Defense League, Firearm Policy Coalition, Virginia Citizens Defense League, everybody. Wow. We know them all, but they're all tied into Second Amendment Foundation. These are, it's almost as if Second Amendment Foundation is the link for all the statewide grassroots organizations. The Second Amendment Foundation has told all of these organizations that if you're a member of your organization, you're a member of our organization. So they've locked them all in. What Alan Gottlieb and his people do out there with the Second Amendment Foundation, they're up there out of Washington State. Talk about another nightmare of what's going on in politics for firearms rights. But if you're not a member of Second Amendment Foundation, the moment we're done here, turn your computer over to saf.org and join it.
We are Joe and Elisa Kirshner with Texas Concealed Carry Academy in Waco, Texas, and you're watching Matt Mallory and Clint Macro on Meet the Pressers.
Meet the Pressers.
We were actually having a conversation down here recently about everybody always wants to jump on the president or Donald Trump when they see that there's he might have wavered on a gun rights issue, or he said something. So first off, that guy says things to watch other people's responses.
He does.
He'll throw you to your face to find out what you're saying, or you find out what you mean, and it's just his art of negotiation. But and you'll appreciate this. I tell people, listen, he's a pro-gun guy from New York City. You know what it means to be a pro-gun guy from New York City? And he's one of the 2,000 people that was able to get a license. Weapons permit. That's pro gun guy. That means he's got, and personally, I think he's probably like a Colt Commander kind of guy. I think, with the, maybe like some rosewood grips on it. I think, or right. like a Bulldog 44 revolver,
I bet he has a pair of yellow shooting glasses and one of those fisherman's vests.
Oh, probably. I bet he does. So I explained to people, I said, listen, he's a gun guy, but he's not real knowledgeable on guns outside of where he's from. His sons are, luckily they've traveled and they understand that, and not just through hunting like everybody else says, well, they're just hunters. No, these are pro gun guys, and we see them all the time when we go to our events. But once he sits down and he listens to his advisors and he calls the people at Second Amendment Foundation, and he talks to the people from the state organizations, he comes around, he goes, okay, yeah, I'm a Second Amendment guy. I didn't know what that issue was, and he'll listen to those issues. So I always try to remind people that he's a pro-gun New York guy. He just doesn't understand a lot of the gun stuff from around the country until he sits with his people.
Yeah.
Well, I've been very pleased with his performance thus far. However, I am very critical of the bump stock ban. I think that was not the right move. Classifying a piece of plastic as a machine gun, especially when there were rulings on that going back into the previous administration of all things. I thought that was.
I'll take that one away from the NRA. Not that I'm pointing fingers, but they sat down with him and said, this is just some hokey item that nobody cares about. Less than 1% of the people own it. You could take it; it'll be no big deal. That was the NRA saying, we'll give you this.
Give you one.
I agree.
Well, awesome, sir. It has been a great pleasure. Once again, thanks for your service. Definitely appreciate you putting the time in all the way up till now. When are you retiring? When's your retirement party?
I'm not leaving until they throw me out. That's my motto. I'm literally until they throw me out. I've got 10 more years I can stay if I can find a way, before my mandatory retirement age. But yeah, they're gonna have to throw me out.
So if you retire from Cav because of your age, you get slipper spurs?
Bifocals.
Instead of the little sharp points on the end of the spur, they actually turn into little wheelchair wheels.
That's good.
Yeah.
It is hilarious. So how can people find out more about you, look you up, follow you, stalk you, all that good stuff?
The best way is go to armsroomradio.com. You go to armsroomradio.com. It's got the link there for listening to past shows. You can listen to the live shows when we come out on Saturdays, and you can find all of our social media. I do appreciate you having me on, letting us continue to spread the word and stay strong, support the Constitution and Second Amendment.
And I'm serious about that. Whenever Trigger Pressers ends up growing, you're going to be the first person I call.
I am really looking forward to it. Again, I've bugged you about it a bunch of times. If I could maneuver a way to show you the sticker on the laptop that I'm currently talking to you through, there's two logos on there. It's my logo and your logo.
I appreciate that.
I got to send you one of my logos too then.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm an army of one, man. I move as fast as I can, but I'll get there.
There you go.
Amen.
Thank you again for being on the show, and thank you for your support in the past and having me on your show. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
But stay safe, brother.
Take care.
You too.
Yeah, bye.
We have a lot of sponsors that made this show possible.
Perfect. I got
And
it.
then you got the rest.
Yeah.
We have a lot of sponsors that made this show possible.
Make sure you check them out and give them your business.
This episode is made possible with the generous support of Shooter Technology Group, ASP, Saber Red, Lee Armory, and the SFD Responder 2.0. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the show.
Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and click that little bell to make sure you know when our next episode's uploaded.
Until next time.
Adieu.
Meet the Pressers.